I actually had my coach my sophomore year, Dave Cusano. He was actually on the bobsled team in 2004, 2005. Um, and he always talked about how much fun it was, how great of an experience it was for him. And when I was graduating in 2014, I was at a track meet down in Boston, the indoor season, and I was talking to Dave because he was coaching for somewhere else at the time. And he was asking me what I was going to do after I graduated, and I wasn't sure. And he said, you should give bobsled a try. He thought I would do well, and it would at least be a really fun experience, regardless of what happened. And so I graduated, tried out in the summer, and made the team fall of 2014 and have been doing it ever since. 4 years ago, I was not named to the team. I was the alternate. I had an injury right before that season, and it resulted in me not getting named to the team. So that was pretty hard. And I felt like I had more to give, and I wanted to prove to myself that I was good enough to make this team. So I came back for 4 more years, had some more injuries. Like I took last season off because I had surgery, and with COVID, it's been a long 4 years. And then this year I got healthy, came out, made the team, competed on World Cup, and was ultimately selected to the Olympic team this year. I ran hurdles primarily at the University of Maine, and there, running hurdles, you have to be really efficient, and so I think that certainly helped. And I was actually having this conversation last night with another reporter, and he was asking me about the 4x1 and how the 4x1 translated over to bobsled. And Frankie and I were actually on the same 4x1 team at the University of Maine. And you can have a group of guys who on paper are okay, but they can outperform how good they are if they pass the stick around the track really well, and you can end up doing really well. And it's kind of similar in bobsled. You have to have 4 guys who are really willing to work for each other and fight for each other, and are doing all those little things to find every little hundredth that they can. Just the way the sport is, there's so much equipment and so many moving pieces. You just need hands. And so most sports, the alternates do not travel, but bobsled they do. So I was actually in Korea with the team, helping them out, and in case anything would have happened, I would have been there to step in. So I was just about as close as you can possibly get to competing in the Olympics without competing in the Olympics. And so it was an Olympic experience for me, but it wasn't the one that I wanted. So 4 years later, to be able to come back and actually be named to the team and be on a sled, and knowing that I'm going to compete is just, it's really special. So in Korea, I did not walk in opening ceremonies, but I walked in closing ceremonies. And it's going to be a little different this year because of COVID. I'm not actually sure how many people are going to be in the stands. I don't know if it'll just be local nationals or if it'll be empty. But essentially we all get our kit. We're going to get it here this afternoon. And then once we're in China, they line us all up and march us out in front of the world with our flag bearer, and then they'll put on hopefully a really cool show to start the Olympic Games off. I mean, it is so incredibly special for Frankie and I to not only be both named to the Olympic team, but to also be competing on the same sled at the Olympics. So Frankie's going to be my pilot in the 4-man event at the Olympics. And the journey that Frankie and I have been on, 8 years for me, 7 years for Frankie, in the sport has just been, it's been very different. I chose to come back as a pusher, and Frankie chose to come back as a pilot. But the fact that we have reconnected now and are in the same sled is really just awesome. I remember 4 years ago, last Olympic year, at the start of the season, Frankie and I were talking, and he says to me, you know, I just have this feeling that we're going to be on the same sled at the Olympics. He's like, I don't know what it is, but there's just something. I have this feeling. And it ended up not happening in 2018. We both didn't make the team, but he was just a little late in his feeling. And 4 years later, here we are, and it's really special. And there's no one else I'd rather be at the Olympics with than Frankie after this journey we've been on.